Hey there, everyone. Happy mid August. This is the Prime Real Estate team, your friends here, myself, Daniel, David. We typically like to give you a sales stats report for Victoria earlier in the month, but it's been a busy time and things have been happening. Daniel, you got yourself injured, right?
I did. Yes, I'm too old to be playing hockey anymore.
Yep. There we go. There we go. But we've got a few things to report to you. So we'll start with you, David. Talk to us.
Yeah, so we've obviously had a few rate reductions in the last couple of months. So June was a little bit of a surprise. We saw the market kind of maybe not do what we expected to do with the first rate cut, but I think that came out to, I've read a couple of things that people thought that might be because a lot of people were also waiting to list in that month. So we saw a little bit uptick in listings, and which kind of balanced out diluted the what happened with the rate cuts, and we didn't see as much activity. But July maybe changed a little bit. We saw another rate cut. We're hearing a lot of stuff from Bank of Canada and obviously the Feds down south that says we could be expecting a lot of rate cuts. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in the market. It seems like the July rate cut, definitely sped up. I think Daniel can attest to that. That the July market was a little bit of a surprise. We typically see a bit slower, but what do you have to? What do you think, Daniel? Do you see a bit
Yeah.
of your July?
Yeah, just echo that a little bit, right? So like I was going through the stats and talking about them a little bit the other day, and I think our narrative for a little bit was the spring has gotten slower, things are a little slower from last year. And then the stats came up from July and they were actually up from last year a little bit. So prices kind of flat, but activity went up, which I was surprised by. So Tony, I'm sure we'll dig into that, but I think those rate cuts are probably having a bit of an effect already.
Yeah, well, let's have a look at the stats for July. As you can see there, folks, we had sales that were up 9.2% from last year. They were also in active listings, 3,400 is up 38%. Now, it sounds like a lot, I know, but you probably remember the last couple of months, it's been like 50% up, right? So it's kind of interesting, the amount of inventory. We still need more, bottom line. In fact, when we look at active listings, the last time we were sort of at this kind of range was 10 years ago. So it's been 10 years. I mean, hey, folks, it's been busy, 2016, 2020, 2021, or 2021, that kind of stuff. There is still room for active listings, but there's more choices here now, which is kind of nice, and especially with what Dave was just talking about with lower interest rates. Let's look at number of sales. As Daniel mentioned, 650 sales. Where does that sit in the grand scheme of July's? Actually, pretty good. There was a lot of 500s, 523, 580. So it just feels like things are sort of coming back. Looking at the average prices, this is an interesting one because our average price for single family home was down 5% from last year. But the thing that I want to show you that I noticed earlier is we're comparing to the peak last year, 1,374,000 versus 1,299. So in the grand scheme of things, when you look at the average, it's been pretty flat for the past, almost a year here. So definitely not a reduction in prices. Still a lot of interest and activity. Afraz, who isn't here right now, has been talking about, now's the time. There's parents looking for housing for UVic students for September. That's a common one, and especially now that there's no rental restrictions in condo buildings, and there's all these great opportunities around the university. Yeah, things are happening, right?
Really?
Yeah. So what's going to happen in the next little bit when we look at what happens in August typically, sales will soften. I mean, usually that's what happens in the summer months, August and September. But right now, I gotta say, Victoria is doing just fine. And yeah, interest rates. I was chatting with a mortgage broker today. She was talking about people refinancing at around 5%. It seems like forever since we talked about that. And 5% is still cheap, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard that we could hit four this fall, so we'll see.
Oh my God. Well, the other little side note I do want to bring up, Daniel, you and Afras have been working on development properties, so there are some opportunities out there, right?
We've got, well, a land assembly that we're putting together. So four houses together for somebody to build like townhouses or condos in the future. But it's a tricky thing. Like the economy's tough for the land assembly and the developers. but the government incentives and the push to just build more density is quite strong.
Yeah.
So that's going to kind of balance out, I think, if these rates come down a bit, and you'll see a lot of building.
Yeah. So
Sure. I think the rates will help the developers. Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
On top of everything else, the rates might be the only sticking point, so that the developments are going to start happening pretty soon.
Interesting time for sure. We've been busy. I mean, the prime real estate team is always busy, but yeah, things are happening. So as always, folks, if you got a question, you want to talk about real estate or something happening in your near future, reach out to any of us, Daniel, David, Afraz, Megan, myself. Love chatting with you. Talk to you soon.
See you later.
Bye.